Okay, nerds, I've gone through my logs and dug up 10 more what-if stories that I think you might not have heard of. So, I'm Adam Andrews, this is Top 10 Nerd, and let's just jump into it. Number 10, the Fantastic Four as Cosmonauts. Let's explore the what-if story that begs the question of what if the Fantastic Four were Russian? Well, for starters, their names are different. In fact, they're pretty much all different. Now the UFFF, or the Ultimate Federalist Freedom Fighters, the team is made up of Rudion Richards, the commie Reed Richards, who instead of stretching can just pop off his limbs and send them out over long distances, which is way more alarming. Natalia Romanova, the 616 Black Widow, who is now Widowmaker and can control electromagnetic energy. Pyotr Rasputin, who is still just Colossus and has all those powers, except his body and mind are deteriorating over time. And lastly, Pyotr's sister, Ilyana Rasputina, who seems to have the power of Sue Storm, but we only ever see her go invisible, which is way less cool than the 616 continuity. After the demise of Stalin, the team is put under KGB control, and Rudd Richards, easily the strangest member of this team, is not having it, especially after he accidentally ends the life of Giant Man while on a mission for them. Widowmaker then makes widows of the wives of the leaders of the KGB, and the superhero team goes on to fight for freedom and equality. I didn't think that's how it would go, but here we are. Number 9, World War II Space Nick Fury. 1979's What If number 14 gives us a very different approach to history. Instead of World War II being fought in Europe, it's instead fought in space. In this alternate timeline, we discovered interstellar travel much earlier in our history, and as such, the World War II that we fight is more like space sector war between Sector Alpha and Sector Beta in space. And don't ask me to define where those areas are because I can't. It doesn't even tell us. As this is still all set at the same general time as the regular World War II, some of the same characters are gonna be involved, including the original Nick Fury and his Howling Commandos. This story has new high-tech weaponry, fishbowl helmets, and aliens. It's a good bit of fun. Now, we learn in the story that Admiral von Strucker is actually working with the alien Axis powers to create a quote master race. So it seems in this alternate world we can master interstellar travel, but we still can't just accept each other's differences. Number 8, Miles Morales becomes Wolverine? In this what if, we don't really get an explanation as to why, but instead of being his normal self, Miles Morales in this world is instead a mutant with the same abilities as Wolverine. And when he is younger, he is abducted alongside other children by Weapon X, who turn him into the adamantium skeleton super weapon, just like the original Wolverine, because of course that's what happens. Now fast forward a few years though, now in this world, Sentinels are being used to hunt down mutants by S.H.I.E.L.D. And after Miles takes out 3 of them, S.H.I.E.L.D. sends in this super cool looking warrior wielding an adamantium katana to take him out. This awesome S.H.I.E.L.D. warrior turns out to be Miles' father, and once he discovers this Wolverine mutant is his son, he turns on S.H.I.E.L.D. So obviously they send another assassin, Miles' uncle Aaron, the original bad guy, who seems to be doomed to be bad no matter what because he is this world's version of Sabretooth. Miles' father defends his son to his dying breath until Miles jumps in to beat Sabretooth to a pulp and almost ends him before his father convinces him not to and to instead be a hero. And then the X-Men show up to recruit Miles, led by Professor X, who is actually Genki Lee, the original Miles' best friend for some reason. It's weird, but it's cool. Number 7, Iron Man The Traitor. In one of the first ever what-ifs, when Iron Man is famously captured and forced to create weapons, he still creates the Iron Man armor, but the change comes when instead of booting up and busting his way out of where he is being held captive, the boot up sequence takes just a bit too long, and Yinsen's sacrifice doesn't buy Tony enough time. Tony is found and restrained before he can do anything. Now that he has been found and this new weapon, the Iron Man armor, is discovered, the leader of the terror organization, Chen Lu, plants a device in the arc reactor that keeps Tony alive, but that allows him to shut it off remotely if Tony doesn't do what he says. And he implants a communication device in Tony's skull so that Chen Lu can spy on and control Tony. Then he lets him be discovered and sets him free. Now, thanks to the fact that he can now control Tony, he forces him to become a hero like he would have anyways, gain the trust of the superhero community, and then he learns secrets pertaining to S.H.I.E.L.D. But it's once Tony is ordered to dispatch Reed Richards and goes to complete the mission that it's revealed that Tony had been recording a tape by speaking incredibly slowly, and he sent that tape to Reed, who, when he played it at a faster speed because he's super smart, he learned of the situation that Iron Man was in. Once their fight began, Iron Man eventually got, quote, incapacitated by Reed, who actually helped him remove the device inside Tony's heart, giving Tony the chance to get his revenge. Now, for a short and somewhat silly what-if story, it's actually really good. Number 6, New Fantastic Four. What If This Was the Fantastic Four is a comic that was a tribute to illustrator Mike Wieringo, who unexpectedly passed away while working on this story. And even if that wasn't the case, it's still actually one of my favorite what ifs. The original Fantastic Four is brought to an end by the Skrull agent Delilah, and in their place, a team of 4 other heroes step up to the plate, if not with a bit of reluctance. Spider-Man, Wolverine, the Incredible Hulk, and Ghost Rider. Now, Ben Grimm was the only member of the original team who survived, and at their funeral, he gave this new team his blessing while he went off to raise Franklin Richards. This new team came under attack from cosmic beings who seemed to sense that the Earth lost one of its major teams, but this was all orchestrated by Dr. Doom, as I'm sure no one is too surprised by. Thanks to Ghost Rider's inclusion on this team, Mephisto uses Doom and possesses him, and creates a team of the hero's villains who are power boosted with infernal magic. It's Venom, Abomination, Sabretooth, and Sandman. This fearsome four, as they call themselves, do battle with the new team of Fantastic Four members, eventually being defeated, revealing the Mephisto-possessed Doom, who almost destroys the team until he's stopped by a combined effort of the citizens of New York, and Spider-Man, utilizing the disruptor that finished off the Fantastic Four in the first place, saves the people of New York, saves Dr. Doom, and he saves the day, because it's Spider-Man. Number 5, Man Spider. Okay, so in this story, everything that happens to Spider-Man is exactly the same. Oh, except I left out the extremely important detail that in What If number 8 in 1978, this isn't Peter Parker, it's actually Webster Weaver, an anthropomorphized spider in a world of other animal people. Oh, yes, and he gets bit by a radioactive human, giving this spider the proportional powers of a human. Apart from that, and the villains being hilarious alternate versions like Marvin the Hunter, Culture Vulture, Rude Rhino, the Green Gobbler, King Pig, Octodoctopus, and Leaping Lizard, everything is just the same as it always is, until one day Reyes, the bug spray baron, threatened to destroy the ozone layer unless he was given $1 trillion. It turns out that Reyes is actually the guy who defeated Webster's Uncle Ben, or Uncle Bug as he's called in this comic. Man Spider saves the day, Reyes is destroyed, and he swings back home to Aunt Mayfly. It's lovely. Number 4, the Fantastic Four with different powers. The Fantastic Four are known as the first family of Marvel Comics. Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm combine great intelligence, sterling courage, and a staggering array of powers, making them one of the most powerful superhero teams in comics, and also one of the best families around. 1977's What If number 6 shakes things up by reimagining a world where the four acquire different sets of powers. This sets them on a dramatically divergent path. The story sees Reed, Susan, Johnny, and Ben subjected to the cosmic radiation that fans know gives them their powers, but this time around, Johnny becomes a living robot, Ben sprouts giant dragon wings, and Susan gains the ability to stretch her body to great lengths like Reed could. Reed? Well, he kinda draws the short straw. He's transformed into a bodiless brain. The explorers band together as the Fantastic Four, but Reed's nature as a disembodied organ kinda leads to some problems, as you might suspect. Susan grows closer to Ben instead of Reed, and Reed despairs of ever getting her to love him again. Dr. Doom soon takes advantage of Reed's state by stealing him away for his own ends. Now, after a thrilling battle, Reed and the others manage to overcome Doom. Reed also manages to transfer his mind into Doom's body somehow. This means this new Fantastic Four consists of a winged Ben Grimm, stretchable Susan Storm, metallic Johnny, and Reed alive in the body of Dr. Doom. Kinda crazy. Number 3, Wolverine-Punisher. What about the what if where Wolverine became a kind of Punisher? In this story, we're in 1920s Canada following a Wolverine who doesn't seem to actually have claws, or if he does, he barely uses them. He does seem to have his healing factor and senses though. Whatever his powers are, we find out he has a son with a lady who, works at a bar. He is forced to take responsibility for both of them and makes friends with the barkeep. But that all comes to an end when they are all brought to an end thanks to a fire caused by a man named Scarface, who fled to Chicago. Now obviously, Logan isn't going to just let that go. He tracks down the villain, and with the help of his friend, and all while wearing a skull and crossbone flags on his chest, he wields big bang booms and never pops his claws if he actually has any, but he looks totally amazing as he takes that guy out. It's also an incredibly weird twist on a version of Punisher, but admittedly a little more disappointing than I might have expected it to be, and I'm sorry if you get disappointed by it. Number 2, Hassenwald. Honestly, I'm not even sure how this makes sense, but in this What If comic, Marvel exists as a comic book company that writes all the same comics it normally would, including comic books about Ghost Rider Robbie Reyes, and that's important because he also happens to be an intern at Marvel, but is also still Ghost Rider. I don't know how it works. I never said these things need to make sense. What is honestly even weirder than that though is that the studios of Marvel are being visited by this Nordic death metal band called Hassenwald from Latveria, who have fun clubs all over the world, including in Wakanda. Oh, and they also have been accused of witchcraft, church burning, and eating people, which turns out to be true, as while they are visiting Marvel, they take out the donkey that runs the printing press and use it to create a possessed Ghost Rider comic that turns the world into a hellscape, making them the ultimate rulers of it, using the power of the old gods to do so. I don't know. Now, Robbie Reyes is trapped in this world where Hassenwald has dispatched the Marvel Universe and he needs to save it, I think? I don't know. After reading it though, I needed to sit down, so. And finally, in at number 1, Thanos joins the Avengers. In 2015's What If Infinity Thanos number 1, we meet a version of the Mad Titan who willingly teams up with the Avengers to take down the Builders, a race of super beings from another reality who wish to end the universe. Of course, Thanos' desire to become one of the Avengers ultimately turns out to be self-serving, but Captain America realizes this too late and he falls in battle to the Purple Menace. Thanos tells the other Avengers that Cap passed at the hands of the enemy, which the other Avengers accepted. He becomes a solid part of the team, albeit one kept hidden from the rest of humanity. Now, Thanos' mere presence appears to infect the other heroes with this kind of evil persona. In the story's epilogue, we see Tony Stark, Reed Richards, and Doctor Strange mulling over the possibility of beings like the Builders attacking them again. Now, this is when Thanos makes his presence known once more. He offers to help Earth's heroes destroy other worlds in the name of defending their own, kind of like in the Incursions. Kind of a downer. And with that, the video is over, but fret not, for I shall return on the flippy flop. Until then, make sure to stay safe and peace out, you nerds.